Alright, so Liverpool lose to Man City 3-0, and it was a bit of an interesting game, wasn't it? It's been my birthday, by the way, which was why I haven't been uploading any videos, but I'm back now, hello. So, Liverpool versus Man City, the first half we did look very poor and lacking in ideas, and just lacking in a bit of energy, really. The rhythm of the team seemed to be very disrupted by the way that they were playing. They had basically 6 players all very, very tightly congested in that midfield, and it meant that it was very difficult for us to play. We didn't seem to have any way to kind of counteract that. Trying to play through the middle was basically impossible, and playing down the wings, which we probably should have done, or maybe gone long to the wingers, wasn't really something that we were doing either, even though that probably would have been the way to get through them. But it seemed to be working. The Manchester City game plan obviously worked to perfection. They got a very dodgy penalty, which was thankfully saved, because honestly it was an absolute joke of a penalty as usual. And then of course Liverpool had a goal disallowed, which is basically adding to our misfortunes this season. The amount of times that Liverpool have had a dodgy decision this season go against them, I think this is the 4th time now, is it? 4th time that Liverpool have had a VAR error go against them this season, and that's 4 more than everyone else from what I can tell. So the stats have been going around, obviously. I thought we played pretty well. We created, what was it, our XG was about 3 goals and Man City's was about 1. So basically they scored from 2 situations where they really were very fortunate to score from. Obviously the deflected goal for their second goal. The first goal, what was it? Was that also a deflected goal? Oh yeah, it was Konate deflecting the goal onto Haaland's head, which just hit him and went in. So that was also unfortunate. And then obviously their third goal was a good goal by Doku, which was a very good goal, to be fair. But overall, Liverpool very hard done by again in terms of the stats. Recently we have been creating a lot of chances, but they've just not been basically being put away. Salah had a golden opportunity to score. Gakpo had an open net, which he missed yet again. So really Liverpool, I think, have been unlucky this season in terms of the results that have gone against us. Obviously losing 3-0 is a big result. But I think when you look at the actual goals that were conceded, 2 of them were deflections, and obviously I think Van Dijk's goal should have stood as well. So really you could have argued that if one of those deflected goals didn't go in, because they can easily not go in, most of the time they don't go in, you could have said it was probably around 2-1. Which probably would have been a pretty fair result considering the fixture and considering how both teams played. I thought Man City played pretty well. I thought we played a lot better in the second half and created 3 or 4 good chances that could have been goals, in a very similar way to the Man United game, where really we probably should have scored 3, 4, 5 goals and we just didn't put them in the net. We had a few chances against Man City which were very, very similar to that United game. There was loads of times where I thought if we just scored 1 goal, the whole momentum of the game could have switched. There was a period in the second half, at the start of the second half, where we looked like we were starting to press our advantage. Looking like we largely figured out what they were doing in the second half, and we were looking pretty good and in the ascendancy. But obviously that Doku goal just killed the game off. But if you think if it was 1-1 or 2-1 to them at half-time or just after half-time, then I definitely feel like there would have been a momentum swing towards Liverpool, because honestly we were playing really well for the first half of the second half. Really the game kind of petered out, as you would expect, and often happens when, you know, one team is obviously just trying to control the game and get the win. But overall, I still feel like Liverpool could have played worse. We did play pretty poor in the first half, but it's still hard done by decisions. I don't think the penalty should have been a penalty. I think the Van Dijk goal should have been allowed because he wasn't in the field of vision of Donnarumma. Even though he was offside, he didn't interfere with play, and he wasn't in the line of vision of the goalkeeper. So as far as I'm concerned, the goal should have stood. Man City had a goal given for them against Wolves last season for exactly the same thing, and the goal wasn't disallowed. So very, very dodgy decision again by the VAR. The lack of consistency in these kinds of areas is obviously a massive problem, and I think the refereeing personnel definitely need to be looked into, because there's been some very dodgy decisions against Liverpool all season, to be honest. The amount of times where we've had things go against us, the Galatasaray one was an absolute joke. That's the one that I think of off the top of my head. But overall, obviously Liverpool definitely could have played better. I thought Wirtz played pretty well in this game. Lots of people slagging Wirtz off, and I honestly don't understand why. I don't think these people actually watched the matches, because he was one of the only players that was actually running. He was running his socks off. He was actually picking up the ball, creating chances, going past players. He was getting fouled quite a lot while he was on the ball. Wirtz was one of the players that looked like he was doing well. McAllister and Gravenberch definitely went missing in this game in a big way. And I think it was because they were targeted by Man City's midfield, basically just blocking off all of the runners to them. And Konate was obviously being left on the ball deliberately because they know that Konate is probably the weak link in our team. For the penalty, it was Konate's error. For the first goal, it was Konate's error. For the second goal, it was Konate who should have been in the space where the player had a shot from it, deflected off Van Dijk into the goal. So you could argue that that was Konate's error as well. And then for the third goal, Konate gets ran past and then Doku scores as well. So you could argue that's probably Konate's error as well. So Konate, I mean, he's really not covering himself in glory for me this season. People keep saying that he's not that bad, but I can't help but single him out at this point, to be honest. The amount of goals that we've conceded 1 or 2 goals a game because of Konate errors. We gave away that penalty that could have easily been a goal. That was definitely Konate's fault, just playing the ball into Bradley when Bradley clearly had the situation at least under control for that moment in time. The second goal, Konate is just completely not in the space that he probably should have been when the player was shooting. And for the third goal, I don't know why you're letting Doku come inside and shoot on his right foot. You need to be leading him on the outside as far as I'm concerned. Leading players onto their weak foot is always what you need to be trying to do. And Doku basically just ran past him and shot. The goal was a good goal, to be fair, so I can't really blame him as much for that. But the amount of times that we're giving chances away and teams are actively targeting Konate now, leaving him on the ball, watching him make mistakes. He looks unsettled and he doesn't look as comfortable like he did last season in that position. And I've been saying it for weeks and weeks and probably months at this point. He is costing us a goal a game, at least a goal a game at the minute in terms of mistakes or giving the ball away or giving them enough chances from his errors or not being in the right places at the right time. I think the question has to be asked about him. Obviously, he's been offered a new contract again and he's not yet signed him up. So he could be, soft leaving Liverpool by not playing very well and then just leaving to go to Real Madrid next season, which seems to be in the papers. But we've been linked with quite a few centre-backs recently, which has been interesting. Schlotterbeck, Bastoni, who I think is a great player. Obviously, Guéhi seems like he wants to come to Liverpool. As far as the paper talk's concerned, it seems like he wants to make the move. We've also got Semenyo on the radar, which is interesting. He would be very similar to Diaz. We're missing Diaz so much this season, aren't we? 16 goal contributions he's had so far this season for Bayern, which is twice as many as any other Liverpool player, which I think is pretty interesting. So, lots of things to discuss. The Man City game, obviously a tough game away from home. We haven't played well away from home this season at all. So hopefully after the international break, we've got a run of fairly easy fixtures. I think we've got Leeds, West Ham, Brighton, a few other teams that aren't performing as well as some of the teams we played this season. I think honestly, if we put together 3, 4, 5 wins, or maybe 3 wins, 2 draws, or maybe a loss in there as well, we'll be right back up there in terms of in and around the top spots, won't we? I think everyone's going, the season's over at 11 games in is absolutely mad. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Arsenal are only one ACL injury for Gabriel away from being 5th in the league by the end of the league because he's scoring all their goals and stopping all their goals. Arsenal are going to pick up some injuries and they're probably going to fall off like they always do every single season. So it's going to be really interesting to see where Liverpool shake out. I think really if we're within like 5-10 points of the top spot after Christmas, I think we'll be in a good shout for being in and around for the title race. I think it's way too early to tell at the minute. I think a lot of teams have been taking points off each other. I think Liverpool have got a lot more to give. And we've got Isak and Alisson to come back fully fit after the international break, which are going to be big bonuses for Liverpool as well. And I think in January, I think it's absolutely imperative that we sign a centre-back that replaces Konate for the near or the long term, for being honest. I think if Leone hadn't got that absolutely horrifically unlucky ACL injury, he would have already been playing in that right centre-back role because he looks really good. Quansah, everyone's slagging Quansah off last season. He would have been great to come in for Konate for a few games, to be honest, but obviously Slot never rated him. Fair enough, that's his choice. But I think, a centre-back, a right-sided centre-back's got to come in because Gomez, he looks like an absolute shell of himself, to be honest. I don't even know why he's at the club anymore, if I'm being completely honest. He probably should have been moved on last season or even the season before. He's just been injury-prone the whole time, riding the bench for years at this point. Nowhere near the player we remember of 18-19 when he was partnered with Van Dijk and looked amazing. I think we need 3 centre-backs, arguably, because we've only really got Van Dijk. We've got Gomez and Konate. Konate looks well out of sorts. Gomez looks absolutely finished as far as I'm concerned in terms of being a first-team player. So we need at least 2 right-sided centre-backs, don't we? I mean, if Van Dijk gets injured, we are in big trouble. Big trouble in terms of defenders. Seriously big trouble. If we have to start playing Robertson as left-sided centre-back with Konate, that is going to be very bad indeed. So lots to think about with Liverpool. As always, thanks a lot for watching. Please do like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Do you think Liverpool are finished? Do you think they have a chance of bouncing back? Where do you think they will finish at the end of the season? Let me know down below. Like and subscribe, leave a comment, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you in the next video. Cheers.